Welcome to the Big Movement Podcast. If you're ready to create results and make huge strides in your business, finances, personal development, and health, then you're in the right place. Pushing past excuses and powering through procrastination can be a challenge alone. Here, you'll get the support, tools, and knowledge you need to get to the level you desire in your business and life. Let's get started with your host, Byron Ingram.
And welcome to another episode of the Big Movement Podcast. Today we have Andrea Gomez, who is an artist and creativity coach who guides people in the journey of healing their emotional wounds so they can turn their pain into creative fuel and reawaken the creative spirit within them. So let's learn a little bit more about creativity today and their business. So let's give a warm welcome to Andrea. So Andrea, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So tell me a little bit more about yourself, because it sounds very interesting that you help people with their creativity. It's something that you don't hear of that many people doing. Most people, they go into all the business mechanics, but very rarely you're someone just tapping into that creative part of the mind.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, I've also been in the more in the other side as well, and being more about, business and getting things done and all this more linear mind type of work. And when I moved to the Netherlands, because I'm originally from Colombia, I had a total breakdown, and I couldn't do much about my business. I couldn't keep up the pace that I had before. And one day I was just barely making it through the day. And I remembered that I used to like to paint a lot when I was younger. So I decided to just go and do that, because that was basically the only thing that I could get myself to do. And as I started painting, it's almost like I started having these insights of how creative I've been, and my choices throughout my life have been all trying to find that creativity, but it's almost like I've been looking at it in the wrong places. So I tried to I studied design in university, hoping that it would inspire me to be more creative. But surprisingly, it was not that encouraging. And it left me feeling very disappointed and very sad about how my teachers treated the creative process, and how ideas were discouraged very easily. So I swung the pendulum, and I started doing more spiritual things. And when I moved here and I had that breakdown, it was almost like bringing my creativity back. And I realized that I had been doing that for a very long time in a different way. So that's pretty much how I came to it in a nutshell.
Well, everybody has a journey of how they arrive at what they're doing. What was it that caused that breakdown when you moved to the Netherlands?
Well, as I said, I come from Colombia, so it's this Latin culture where you still live with your parents when when you're going to university. It's a very different mindset. And I just moved with my boyfriend, who's Dutch, so I moved here because of him. And I felt my life just fell apart. Even though the relationship was amazing and I was going to a really nice place and the environment where I was living was very nice, I just had these emotions coming up that I didn't know what to do with them. And at first I just thought, everything is going smooth. Life seems to be so good for everyone watching from outside, but from inside it just feels so painful, and I can't manage to do this. So that was kind of what was behind the breakdown. I think I was almost detaching from my life as it was up until that point, and just reconstructing myself in a way that served me better than the social expectations or my parents' expectations or even my own expectations about myself. So it was really a rearranging, recalibrating period. And that was why it was so intense, I think.
And that's important that you shared that, because there's so many people that go through these big life transitions that you think of the identity that you had in Colombia, of family and everything that you're doing, and suddenly it all changes.
Totally. And you know what was the hardest thing for me? And I think that was what made it difficult for me at the beginning, was that I thought everything was everything was fine. You know, like my conditions were good. It's not that I was having a hard time, you know, like surviving. Like my conditions were good and I was still feeling very, very bad in the inside. So that was hard to understand why I was going through that, but I understood then that it was this massive transition of like kind of like death and rebirth that I was going through. Yeah.
And it's part of that process I think everyone has to go through when you're making any type of a big shift, because you can have everything planned out, but there's going to be something sometimes that really defines how that experience is going to be.
Yeah, totally.
So obviously, when you went through this, it sparked your creativity. What made you decide that you should really focus in on helping people with creativity in their lives?
Well, a couple of experiences that I have had. Like I remember having friends that they will always come for advice, and usually my advice was always creative of some sort. Either if it was with the way that they were dealing with life or work or their emotions or their partners, or even if they were single, I realized that was pretty much there. And I did this exercise, which I think is really cool. And like, if anyone listening wants to do it, would be great. And it's just go about and ask 25 people for your top 3 qualities.
Interesting.
And then I did that exercise, and it was so impressive to see how people reflected creativity back to me. And like, I just thought it was like an add-on thing, you know, I never saw it as like a extra thing, or that people could like actually point that out to me. And when that came up second place, I was really impressed. So I started looking at that, and like also when you're going through like a moment where it's so difficult to look at yourself, like as like a breakdown, right? It's good sometimes to have people that you really trust and like, and you know that they're there for you to reflect back to you some stuff so you can rebuild yourself. Right. So that's what I did. And it was very, very helpful.
Oh, excellent. And it's powerful that way when you have that clarity, but then you also get the perspective of how other people see you, because sometimes we don't see ourselves in the same way that someone else does, especially when it comes to what you're really good at helping people with.
Totally. So after I did that, the exercise goes, you ask 25 people for 3 things, your top 3 qualities, and then you make a list of your top 5 qualities. And my top 5 ended up being a good listener, creativity, sensitivity, my courage, and my honesty. And that's how like I started merging them all together until I created the body of work that I have now, and the way that I work with clients, and that I do my business basically, and my life.
Oh, wow. Now that's powerful, because you got that clarity. And before you did it, did you really think those were your top 5 qualities? No.
I knew sensitivity was there. I didn't quite consider it as a full quality. I was doubtful on that one. Courage, I thought it was more like risk taking, but when the word courage came out, was also very beautiful, because I was like, wow. I always thought about more like these like bracing, like risk, or you know, like go getter or something like that. But courage had more of these like being brave and, you know, still doing things that are difficult for you or scary. So that was very beautiful when they came out. Like specifically the choice of words that people had was really nice to see.
Oh, that's excellent. All those things, they add up, and it makes an incredible difference when you're looking at how you position yourself to attract people to you. So, yes. As you started in this journey of creativity, what was it that started attracting people to you in terms of how you're able to help them?
Can you repeat that again?
Sure, definitely. When you first started on this journey, how did you start attracting people to you? What did they see that, in terms of your creativity, your art form, that made them seek you out for you to help them?
I think was one of the things that I also never thought that I was good at, and was being consistent and putting myself out there over and over. That was one of the things that I keep having as feedback, and I keep having people showing up from places that I didn't even know. And it's just maybe, I posted a video or I shared on my blog, and I try to be constant, but I never thought that I was as consistent as people see me being consistent. I've got like friends of mine saying like, oh my God, like you're the most consistent person. And I'm like, wow, yes. And like to actually give myself credit for being consistent, because I often feel I'm also looking forward, and I'm thinking sometimes too much on the things that I'm still not there yet, like I'm still in my to-do list, and then people are seeing what I'm already doing. So that's one of the biggest things that has helped me attract people, like being consistent and being and putting myself out there in different ways, not just one specific thing, but expressing my art in different forms.
Oh, and that's so critical. You have to put yourself out there consistently, day in and day out, to attract people.
Totally.
So what are the different ways that you're putting your message out there? Because people are finding you. So what are they resonating with?
I started blogging as well when I had a little bit before the breakdown. I started blogging, and I decided to make that as a weekly practice and just being very consistent about that. And I've been blogging for about 2 years already. Mm-hmm. And so written form, I really, really enjoy it. I create art. I do watercolor and acrylic painting. I do workshops. I do one-on-one coaching. I do like a bunch of things to express my creativity in different ways. So I love the art medium. I love writing. I love speaking. So I go about doing all those things in a consistent way now that I think about it.
And that's important that you diversify how you're putting your message out there, because it makes a difference. Totally.
Also because some people really enjoy my art content, and some people really enjoy my written content. And that doesn't mean that they are not suitable for working with me or for enjoying what I do. But sometimes they just prefer a way rather than the other.
Right.
It's good if you're if you're growing a business and you want to, grow an audience and talk to people that way.
Right. It makes a tremendous difference, because so many times people focus on just one platform to build it, but then they don't realize how many more people can connect with their message in other places.
Totally. And here is also the thing, and I think it's very personal, and it's that I get very tired and bored very easy. That's why also like creativity is very fun for me, and like it's really good for me to channel my mind. And it's because I get tired if I'm just doing one thing. Mm-hmm. So I have to try. And I know some people have this mindset, or like they teach this of like just being very focused on one thing until you get really good at it, and then you move into the other. For me, it doesn't work like that. I need to have, let's say, like 3 things playing out. I can have the tendency to get very overwhelmed if I add more stuff. So that's also part of my process of learning how to focus. But yes, definitely for creative minds and for people that have a lot of mental energy, if you just focus on one thing for a very long time, you're going to get bored pretty quickly. So that's also something that I do for myself, and I tell my clients as well about it, so they can free themselves a little bit from that tightness of being super focused, or having to do just one thing until they master it. I don't think there's such thing.
There's so many different ways of doing it. If you think about it, it's that you can have that focus towards that single objective, but how you go about doing it. So that's where I think people, they get burned out, is that they're doing one repetitive task over and over, and there's no variety to keep the mind stimulated. It's like you had to sit there and just push one button for 8 hours a day. At some point, you're like, oh, screw this, and you're done.
Explode,
So that creativity comes in, like, how else can you approach solving that problem, because everything you do, it all revolves around attracting people to you and then ultimately helping them with one of your programs.
Yeah, totally.
But you're doing it in ways that keeps your mind stimulated, and that's what's important.
Mm-hmm. And here is also the thing, and maybe you're if anyone is listening and has this problem will resonate with it. And it's if you have a tendency to anxiety, for example, there is a big chance. I mean, anxiety and creativity are part of the same spectrum. Just that anxiety is like that mental energy misused, and creativity is that mental energy positively used. So if you have this tendency for anxiety, the best thing that you can do is actually get yourself into something creative, whatever. You know, it can be something that you enjoyed when you were a kid or something that you have no clue on how to do. But wherever you can focus your energy in, it's going to be really, really useful. And if you are growing a business and you are also anxious, you know, naturally, the pressure of business is also, you know, it's also going to build up on that. So if you can get something creative, even if it's on the side, even if it's not part of your full business or whatever you're doing, it's really, really helpful.
Right. Oh, definitely. And that in itself, I think, is extremely powerful of how to tackle anxiety, because so many people, they go through those moments and they're not funneling that energy into doing something productive, so they let that anxiety grow and then it takes them over.
Yeah, and then you end up like, you know, I've had those days where I just like let my anxiety grow too big, and then I don't do anything for the whole day. And then you regret yourself, you know, like it can get very vicious very fast.
Right.
So taking, you know, awareness and acting upon, you know, like taking better care of yourself when you find yourself in those places can be really good for everything, for your life, for your business, for your productivity, for everything.
Right. Oh, totally. So now, in terms of acting upon anxiety, what are some of the creative ways that you found to be most helpful for people to put a halt to it and get back into the creative flow that helps them be more productive?
Okay, so first thing is, you know, choose a way to explore your creativity. And it could be painting, or it could be dancing, it could be making music, it could be whatever you feel drawn to. So curiosity is the first thing to be able to counterbalance anxiety when it shows up. One of the things that I think is very important as well is to not think about creativity as the way like to eradicate anxiety, because then you're going to create more resistance and it's going to get like tougher. But you can use creativity as a channel for anxiety. So we're not going to push against it, but it's almost like we're going to channel that mental energy into it. And what I always recommend is, you know, like if you're having a really hard, well, try to pay attention when the anxiety starts, and like the faster you tackle it, the easier, of course. If you let it grow too much, then it's going to start feeling like it's out of control. But at any point, you can just sit down and put a timer in your phone or whatever, and just dedicate, you know, it could be 15 minutes or it could be, I don't know, a random number like 23 minutes or something, to just create. Turn off all the distractions, put your phone like in airplane mode, and just do whatever creative thing you're doing right now. And you'll see that by the time that the timer rings, you are softer in a way. And that is really, really the key. If you can, you know, if you can go for another stretch of, I don't know, 15 minutes or 23 minutes or whatever, that's great. And if you can't, because you have to go and do other things, then you've already had that little time, like that window to just soothe your system and focus on something else that it's not adding into the momentum of your own anxiety.
Right. And that's important because it doesn't solve a problem if you're becoming anxious and trying to solve it.
Yeah, it's the worst.
As you think of how many people do that.
Yeah, no, and like, I mean, everyone gets caught up in that. Like I do get caught up in that a lot as well. It's just a constant reminder to yourself to do things different if you want to feel different and you want to live different.
Right, exactly, because we want to have that creativity fuel us, but then there's so many times that we get in our own way for a variety of reasons.
Yes. And also, like, think about it. I like to think about creativity as, this, like, it serves me to think about it as like this extra, like this being of sorts. Because when you engage in a relationship with it, then it's there for you. It's like a friend. So if you invest in your relationship with your creativity and you take some time every day or every week, like a little bit of time to engage with it and really practice it and do whatever craft you like, then the times where it gets tough, it's going to serve you well. It's really going to be there for you. So the more relationship you build with your creativity, the easier it's going to be for your creativity to help you in the, anxiety or in the tough moments of life. So that's also really important to clarify. And it's that we have to build a relationship with our creativity. It's not going to just show up.
Right. As it would be incredibly nice if it would just show up, you just
yeah.
snap your fingers and ta-da, there it is, you're creative.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, we are creative. The thing is how deep and how rich the connection it is and the relationship with our creativity is. I do believe that we are all inherently creative. We get, we detach from it at certain points. We have teachers or parents or life that just tell us that we're not creative enough or whatever. And that's also something that I help my clients do, like trace back where their creative wound was created. And then we work on that and just pick up from there and, dedicate some time to creativity and exploring that other part that it's also very human.
Right, exactly. So now, as you work with clients, what are some of the most creative ways for people to actually just start being more creative? Because some people, they may think like, I'm not creative. I can't even draw a stick figure. So how do people discover that creativity when it's a stranger to them?
There are many ways. Okay, so if you feel like, here is the thing. If you feel like picking up a pencil or whatever is not your thing and you can't even draw a stick, don't go for that. Or, there are a million ways. One of the things that I love the most is have maybe you just close your eyes and you have a piece of paper and a pen and you just make like a scribble, like nothing. Something that is just loose, whatever line. And then when you open your eyes, you check the page and you figure out something that you could make out of the scribble that you made already in the page. And it's really fun. It doesn't need to be anything perfect. You don't need to show it to anyone. If you don't want to. Of course, it would be great if you do, but if you don't want to, it's fine. You can go for more abstract things. There are tons of coloring books, for example, out there that you can use if you feel like you're really, you need some encouragement. Taking pictures is creative if you just like zoom into it with that perspective. What else can you do? Writing, there's tons of like, if you go to Pinterest and you just Google like writing prompts, then you'll find like writing prompts, which are very simple to follow. It just really depends. And this is why also creativity is a very unique experience to each person. And that's why I also work with people one-on-one, because each person has its own way of developing. And, some people have never grabbed a pen, but they would like to, they never had that experience of feeling how painting feels like, but they have kind of like curiosity. So curiosity is really, really the key to figure out what type of creativity, the creative activity you want to engage with.
Right. And you really hit on something special there, that it's individualized. There's not a one-size-fits-all, because not everyone's going to want to draw something. Just as some people, the only type of pictures they can take are ones that have their thumb in it. So
Totally.
You have to do something that resonates with you.
And that's one of the things that I also feel like kills creativity the most. And it's our deep need for comparing our art with other people's art. And then we are usually comparing our first ever step with someone that has been creating for decades, like the people that we admire the most or the people that are doing great things in the world. We tend to compare ourselves with them, but it's so unfair as well to compare your very first step into creativity or into art or into whatever, photography, you name it, with someone that has been doing it for, decades, years, months. It's not fair at all. So let's don't do that anymore.
Right, exactly. It's a hard thing to do because when you think about it, that the person has had thousands of hours of practice, and
exactly,
you just started.
Yeah, like you probably have like 20 minutes under your belt.
Right.
So don't compare yourself. And that's why I often encourage people at the beginning to not share their work. And this has nothing to do with like any, like disencourage them to share it with the world. But I think at the beginning, you kind of like need to fall in love with it first.
Right.
So it's almost like you're taking it for yourself. It's like when when you meet that special person or whatever, you almost like you want to keep it for yourself first and like really enjoy it and savor it and everything. So the same with creativity. The first hours of your creative practice or whatever, just dedicate them to yourself and to the craft or to the whatever expression that you're bringing through.
Right. And it's interesting when you think about the amount of hours it takes to do something. It reminds me of, it was several years ago, I was in Germany and I was at just this place that had a lot of different pieces of artwork there. And I saw this one painting. It was literally one color. Like, I think it was like red or something like that. I thought to myself, wait, there's a painting hanging here in this gallery and it's this big canvas that was painted red. That was it. And then, I don't remember what they said the value was. I thought, I can just run to the hardware store and grab some paint and do the same thing here.
yeah, totally. That's that's the thing with modern art, for example. Like you will say like, oh, anyone could do that.
Right.
But like the person that actually went and did it, and it's, like if it's charging a generous amount of money for that piece of art, probably has a lot of work behind it, and it has tried many things and it has failed many times. Probably if you're seeing that painting in that gallery, it has had like a huge history of engaging with creativity behind.
Right.
Even if it feels it's very simple.
Right, exactly. That's the thing, that there's always meaning behind something, even though it might not be apparent at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But
totally.
People can be stuck on the wrong things instead of focusing on how can they be creative themselves and bring out that greatness to the masses.
Totally. And one of the things that I also get a lot from clients, it's like, why am I going to do this if it has been done so many times before? Like another painting or another book or another song, And one of the things that I keep repeating them and myself as well is like, it has never been done by you, ever.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if it has been done by other people. Like, who cares? It's like watching, it's like if you're scanning through your Instagram and seeing people going on a holiday, like, cool for them, like you'll see the pictures and you'll say like, oh, very nice. But would it be the same as if you went to the holiday place where you're seeing the pictures from? It's a totally different thing. It's like you're watching an experience and then you are in the experience. So
right.
I really, really encourage people to stop that mental game that it takes nowhere.
Right, exactly. And what I love telling people when they got stuck on the but it's been done so many times, there's so many people doing it, I simply say to them, there's over 7 billion people on the planet, and that less than half of them are connected online. No one person is connected to everybody, regardless of whatever product or service they have. Even large companies like Walmart do not service everybody in the world.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do. You only need a small percentage of the entire population of the whole world to create an amazing lifestyle.
Yeah. Totally. 100% agree.
So sometimes we just have to get out of our head that so what? There's 100 people doing that same thing. They're not all talking to the same people.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally. And here's also the thing. Maybe the message has been out there for a while, but I bet it has happened to you and like to people listening to this. And it's like sometimes someone says something just in the right way, in the right moment, and you totally get it like in a different way. It totally makes sense. You probably have like heard it a million times before, and then suddenly that day it's like bang, it makes sense. So you're never like, your effort is never wasted and your time is never wasted ever.
Right.
That's my philosophy.
Exactly. And that's so spot on, because we have to do the things that are going to truly help us achieve our goals, especially when it comes to creativity, because if we're not tapping into that creativity, then it's hard to ultimately create something that's going to attract people to us.
Yes, totally.
Otherwise, you're just going to be putting out like very bland things like, okay, here's a quote. It's just the quote. That's it. Like it's like you took a screenshot of you doing it in Word or something and putting it out there.
Yeah, made by someone else with no input of your choice, Let's say like if we go by the quote example, it's like if you just like copy paste a quote that you saw somewhere, you had like no creative intervention in it. Like you didn't choose the color, you didn't choose the words. Like there's nothing from you in it. So yeah, I totally agree. We have to get like our hands more in it and allow ourselves to, like, here is also the thing. Some people tell me as well that where do they look for ideas? And one of the things that I tell myself and I tell my clients, and it's a shift that I really enjoyed when I made it, was like that I don't have to look for ideas. That ideas are actually looking for me.
No, that's interesting.
Like you will get inspiration if you open up for it and you welcome it. And it goes back to the same nurturing the relationship. Because if you're opening and you're, to the universe, to whatever you believe in, to whatever is out there, and you say, I'm ready for an idea, I promise you that the idea will find you.
Right.
You will go out walking and then you'll see something that connects with something that you thought about yesterday or a conversation with a friend, and then suddenly, like, bam, you have like a hint of inspiration.
Right. Oh, definitely. It's one of the reasons why one of the things I love to do at the beginning of every day is spend 10 minutes or whatever journaling. And I just write whatever comes to mind.
That's a wonderful practice to get it's almost like you get your engine rolling.
Right, exactly. And I make it a habit that I create a quote, just something, a saying that it just pops in my head. Like, I have no idea what it is. Like, this sounds interesting. It's not like I was perusing through quote websites or anything. Like, this just comes straight from me because I wake up, get my blood moving a little bit, I sit down, I start writing.
Yep. Yeah, it's a wonderful practice.
Oh, it's a great thing to do.
Yeah, totally.
You have to do those things which help just expand your creativity in so many ways, get those juices flowing, because then it sets your intention of letting things come to you throughout the day.
Yeah. And then it's also something that's important to say. It's sometimes ideas are like, they seem very small, and they will come to you like in a very soft, like whispering voice, if that makes sense, like very subtle. But they keep coming over and over. Like those are the thoughts that are worth following. And sometimes people like that's also a myth that people expect like the huge idea, like all like mapped out to come to their mind like straight away. That never happens. I also think that's part of like our collective mindset around it. It's because when we hear people telling their story about creativity, you will tell a story in 10 minutes about, like just the story that I told at the beginning, how I went through a breakdown and then I started painting and then all these things I started coming. But if you trace it back to the real time that took, it was really like a period of a year. So when I come up and say it, it sounds like 10 minutes, it was super fast and she got her like everything together at one point. But the truth is that happens in incremental steps, and taking those incremental steps is crucial. Even if they're even if they seem like they're not going anywhere or they're just sort of distracting you. Like if you are in a tight place or feeling emotionally stuck or whatever, and you're getting distracted by an idea, even if it makes you feel a little bit good, that's already a win. And it will take you somewhere, I promise. I know that. I trust creativity works that way, for sure.
Right. And I think that's something really important for people to understand, is that it's a journey, that it's very rare that you're going to have the big aha and see every single step along the way that I need to do this first, this next, and so on. You're going to have this idea like, ooh, this sounds like fun. And then you see where you want to go, and then you know where you have to start at. That's about as much as it's clear as it's going to be.
Totally. Sometimes you're only given the first step, that's it. And you just go and do the first step. And then when you do it, then you have a second step. It's very, very rare that you have 2 steps or 3 steps ahead. Even less that you have the whole journey drawn out to you so you can perfectly follow it, and nothing is going to go different, or you're not going to take detours or anything. That never happens. Or very rarely. I don't want to say never, but very rarely. So the less that we try to hook on that, I think it serves us better to just allow ourselves to follow step by step and see where it guides us, because it has an intelligence behind it. That's also something that I want to people to have in their minds. And it's creativity has its own intelligence, if you want to think about it as this external being, as I like to think about it, because it's easier for me to engage with it. And if you think about it as another person, it has its own mind, it has its own intelligence, and it wants to engage with you, and you want to engage with it. So it will take you to very interesting places. Right.
Oh, definitely. It's something that's powerful when you do that. And it's when you think of that journey, it's, you're never going to, I don't want to say you never, but but it's, when you think of all the stuff that comes along with it, all that matters is that we know where we want to end up, and we know what we have to do. The how starts appearing because the journey changes. The things that we are going to do to attract the people to us, because new technology is going to be available, or the people that you meet, that there's going to be someone that you might need to meet 6 months from now that's going to help you, but you don't know who that person is, and they're going to appear because you're starting that journey.
Yes, and that's one of the most beautiful things. I also have a daily practice of writing down the best thing of the day, and going back to that, what I wrote about a year ago, and then realize how that led to something else. And then I met this person, and then I went to this training, and then that led me to meet all these other people, all those little steps that a year ago from now, a year before, they seemed so impossible. But it's just because in my case, I decided to take that step, and then the other step, and then the other step. And that's really important for people to just start doing it without having so much needing to control of what's going to come.
Right, exactly. Sometimes you just have to begin doing it and not worry about all the finite details, because sometimes that can overwhelm you when you're just getting started. Yeah,
totally. And you will see, when the time to take care of those details comes, they will come, it will be, that will be the next step. The next step will be to take care of more details, but it's not all the steps of the way where you have to take so much care of all the finite things and the really small things around it. So it also brings you to the moment where, where you have to focus on the big things and when you have to focus on the small things. But again, they will be one step.
Right.
And then the next one. Yeah.
Right. I think a great analogy in terms of understanding the details of something is, think back when you're learning how to ride a bike, that the big thing you're thinking about is don't run into something and don't fall off.
Yeah.
But in the middle of it all, there's all these little micro types of things that you're thinking about, but not at that conscious level, such as, with balance. You don't think about what you're doing to maintain your balance. You're just doing it innately. So there's lots of little stuff that if you worry about every minute detail, you will be paralyzed, versus just focus on the destination, the big things that you have to do, and then the little stuff, you're going to tackle them as they appear.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then, if you live in the Netherlands, if you've ever been here, you'll see that people here that are far, like if taking the analogy of the bike, like then like their next concern is how they can drive without their hands and keep their hands in the pockets while it's so cold outside, like it just shifts. And or how they can eat while they go by bike to work or stuff like that. And Dutch people can do brilliant things on a bike. Like I'm very surprised to what I see in the street.
oh yes, just when you think like, no, you can't do that on the bike. Like, well, so much
no,
for that
come
idea.
to the Netherlands.
Right, all the things that you see in other parts of the world where people are doing it behind the steering wheel of their car, it's being done on a bike.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
As it all makes a difference. So now, as we begin wrapping everything up here, Andrea, what's one thing that people can do to just to jumpstart their creativity in their business and in their life?
One thing that they could do. I will set up a project, and by this I mean choose one thing that you're gonna do, a small thing, and that it also needs to be small, just especially if you're starting. One thing that you're gonna commit to do for the next, you can set your timeline. I tend to be flexible on timelines also because this is an individual thing. So, but like it could be 2 weeks or it can be a month, something short like that. And you commit to do it every day. So it could be writing, it could be painting, it could be dancing, it could be, singing, whatever. But having a time frame and one specific thing that you're going to repeat on for the next few days, that is really, really helpful. And it will help you create like this almost momentum of starting up with your creativity. So choose a time frame, like a period of time, and choose one specific thing that you want to do and the time of the day that you're going to do it. That's also super crucial. And I've actually realized how important that is, because for me, I used to have like a little problem with routine. It's like I don't stick to much like as I think I should or I would like to. But most recently, I've been doing one thing every morning when I wake up. And it's so cool because it like and I don't do anything else. And if I have to wake up earlier, then I do it earlier, like whatever. But I stick to it on the weekends, everything. And it has really, really shifted the way I see myself and the way that I'm functioning and the way I'm feeling. So that's also very important, to do it every day at the same time.
Wow. So now what is it that you're doing every single morning that's had this profound impact?
It's not specifically creative, but I'm following a yoga challenge. Also because it like moving my body helps move my mind and serene, like it's almost like I balance my mind as well. So exercise is really important as well, not just for creativity, but for your life and your business and your well-being. But I was, I've always tried to stick to a routine that feels good or what. I don't know, that I can keep doing, but it quite never stuck with me. And since the new year, I've been doing this yoga challenge. It's for 31 days. And it's been really nice, really, really nice and helpful. And, sometimes I have clients in the morning, so I have to wake up earlier, and I still schedule my yoga time before that. And it has been super, super helpful. But I've done this, like with little painting challenges that I've done for myself or for my clients. So really anything that you want to stick to as a creative practice for a period of time in the same time of the day, it's going to be really good for your creativity and start getting into it.
Oh, excellent. And that's what matters most, is that you're doing those things and it's consistent. That's what makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, it is. I think, wrapping it up, consistency is the thing.
Right. Oh, definitely.
That's the word.
Exactly. Well, I want to thank you for coming onto the Big Movement podcast today. How can people reach out to you to learn more about creativity and how they can work with you to ultimately reignite it?
My website, it's andreagomez.me, M-E.
Okay.
And all my social channels are the same. Just Andrea Gomez, me, in Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, excellent.
I love Instagram, so that's the best place to go. I also do Facebook, but I really, really enjoy Instagram.
Oh, excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and I hope this serves your people as well.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the Big Movement Podcast today. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Now that you've surely been inspired to take your entrepreneurial career and business to the next level, you can stop by the website and get more. And if you're ready to boost your business brand, be sure to grab your free report, 7 Easy Steps to Build Your Brand Today.